This is Imran Khan giving a post-election victory speech. Except it isn't really Imran Khan. The speech is real, but the voice isn't. It was generated by AI because Imran Khan is currently sitting in jail, unable to communicate with the Pakistani people. So his followers used AI to replicate his voice and get his message out. It's a creative yet dystopian reality. To witness a jailed political prisoner use AI to communicate information to the public. And it's a sad state of affairs for Pakistan, as they are currently trapped in the midst of a power struggle between a populist candidate and the deep state. And this struggle comes at a difficult time, as inflation is rampant, the economy is imploding, and civil strife is spreading, with many fearing that it could escalate into something more dangerous, like a violent uprising. So why is this happening? Let's get into it. But first, a message from our sponsors. I'm just kidding, we don't have any sponsors, but we do have a Buy Me a Coffee link in the description of this video. So if you like our work and want to support us, please consider clicking the link and making a contribution. Now back to the video. Pakistan. To understand what's happening, you first need to understand who Imran Khan is. Before becoming Prime Minister, Imran Khan was a famous athlete, serving as captain of the Pakistani cricket team that defeated England in the 1992 World Cup final and brought home the trophy in one of the nation's proudest moments. He went on to become a well-known philanthropist, using his wealth and influence to support the poorest people of Pakistan. So before he ever became Prime Minister, he was already the most famous Pakistani to ever live.
In the World Cup, Imran Khan was a hero. In Pakistan, he's a king, almost a living god. His country is one of the poorest in the world, crying out for help, and Imran Khan has answered that call. He's using his fame to raise a fortune to help cancer victims in Lahore. He's building a new hospital there, which eventually will provide 20th century medicine and, it's hoped, save hundreds of lives.
In 1996, Imran Khan started his own political party, the PTI. The core mission of his political party was to tackle corruption in Pakistan. For 20 years, his party struggled to pick up momentum, but by 2018, the PTI finally won a clear majority in the parliament, which finally made Imran Khan Prime Minister of Pakistan. Now, before this political success, Pakistan was dominated by two political parties in two families: Pakistan People's Party, run by the Bhutto family, and the Pakistan Muslim League, controlled by the Sharif family. These two parties have dominated Pakistani politics for decades, with power swinging back and forth between them like a pendulum. After decades of corruption and stagnation, however, vast swaths of Pakistan's population, from the youth to the impoverished and the middle class, came to view Imran Khan and the PTI as the disruptors needed to save the country from crippling corruption. Behind the scenes, however, in a layer even deeper than the two dominating political parties, is the true power broker in Pakistan: the military. Since its founding in 1947, Pakistan has been ruled directly by the military for at least 33 of its 77-year history. For the rest of its history, Pakistan has been ruled by a civilian government, but not without the military pulling the strings behind the scenes. So in a way, Pakistan has never truly been governed by its people. The Pakistani journalist and dissident Wajahat Khan summarizes Pakistan's issue. He says, "See, Pakistan's conundrum is a simple one. It's ruled by a military it can't afford. To make things more affordable, the military seeks foreign clients and runs a rentier political economy. When the client says jump, the Pakistani military doesn't just ask how high. It goes out of its way, overthrows governments, conducts coups, and even executes elected officials. To avoid sanctions and ensure the facade of democracy, the military keeps the revolving doors of parliament moving, kicking out one prime minister and bringing in another. Thus, none of Pakistan's 23 prime ministers since independence have ever finished a term. Instead, they've been sacked, exiled, or killed." How lovely. So it's clear who really runs the country. And despite Imran Khan's popularity, there's no way he could have come to power without the military giving him the green light. Now, whether they did this because they felt they could work with him to maintain their own power, or because they felt it was impossible to stop his political movement, the end result is the same: an alliance between Imran Khan and the military. And with Khan finally in power, there was hope that he would live up to the promise of rooting out corruption. And he sort of did live up to his promise, but in a controversial way. Government officials and politicians were arrested, but to some of his critics, it seemed as though the corruption charges were one-sided.
All in with Khan, or you were anti-Khan for whatever reason, that was the conversation.
Khan brought with him an extremely divisive, and some would say hateful, style of politics.
सिर्फ हम जिससे मुफाहमत कभी नहीं करेंगे वो लोग हैं जिन्होंने पाकिस्तान की अवाम का पैसा चोरी करके मुल्क से बाहर लेके गए.
This created a schism in the political class, and Khan ended up making a lot of powerful enemies. For a time, it seemed as though Imran Khan was riding high. His alliance with the military was firm, and the anti-corruption crusade was well underway. But Khan came to power at a terrible time. Firstly, he inherited a horrible economic situation. Pakistan's foreign debt was out of control. In 2020, Pakistan owed over $115 billion to foreign creditors. And to make matters worse, COVID hit and brought with it disease, rampant inflation, and economic stagnation. These serious challenges began to chip away at his support, and his relationship with the military started to fall apart. You see, Khan saw himself as the nation's leader and believed he had a better vision for Pakistan's future, a vision that sought closer ties to both Russia and China. Now, this obviously bothered the US. In a leaked cable, a US diplomat suggested to the Pakistani ambassador that removing Khan would help the US forgive the move to develop closer ties with Russia. Quote, "I think if the no confidence vote against the prime minister succeeds, all will be forgiven in Washington because the Russia visit is being looked at as a decision by the prime minister. Otherwise, I think it'll be tough going ahead." The message was pretty clear. The US wanted Imran Khan out. The rift with the US seems to have prompted the military to completely turn their back on Khan. Even though the PTI had won a majority, their coalition was formed with independent candidates. These independent candidates were a sort of trump card for the military. With a few bribes or threats here and there, they could call on these independent candidates to switch sides and pull the rug from underneath Khan. And that's exactly what they did. The military gave opposition parties and independents forming the ruling coalition the green light to organize a vote of no confidence against Imran Khan. And within just 1 month after the US diplomat asked for new leadership, Khan was removed from office. This brought Shehbaz Sharif to power as the nation's new prime minister. But Khan refused to go down quietly and retaliated by organizing mass demonstrations, telling his supporters and the world that there was a conspiracy that saw the Americans and the Pakistani military working together to remove him from power. So Khan called for general elections, knowing that his popularity would bring him back to office. But the government refused and decided instead to bring hundreds of charges against him in an effort to prevent him from legally running for office. So the standoff continued. The protests grew larger, the tensions escalated, eventually culminating in an assassination attempt where Imran Khan was shot in the leg at one of his rallies. Shortly after, Imran Khan was actually arrested, which triggered massive riots and civil unrest. Pakistani men, women, and youth began attacking military sites and bases. The riots were so fierce that Khan was eventually released from prison, but only for a time. Unable to prevent elections indefinitely, the deep state needed to ensure that Khan could not win. So they went after his political party to try and dismember it. They arrested nearly 10,000 members of his political party. Even social media influencers were jailed. On top of that, they brought even more charges against Khan, and they convicted him just before the recent elections that took place last week. Khan was sentenced to 31 years in jail, but Khan and the PTI continued to campaign from their jail cells. Worried about the elections, the deep state decided to interfere even further. They decided to remove the official symbol of Khan's party, the PTI, from the ballot. The symbol is important because many Pakistani voters are illiterate. They can't read or write, so the symbols are their way of identifying the candidate they wish to vote for. So by tampering with the symbols that voters could identify on the ballot, the deep state hoped it would alter the election results. To make things even more confusing, they weren't allowed to replace the widely known symbol with a new standard symbol. Different regions had different symbols representing Khan's party. There were about 50 or 60 different symbols, so it was up to the voters, who are mostly illiterate, to find out on election day which symbol represented Khan and the PTI in their respective locality. This was challenging because the deep state cut the internet and phone service on election day, making it difficult to communicate information to the voters. But even with all of this blatant election interference, Khan and the PTI still dominated at the polls. Early results showed that Khan had not only won, but dominated. So the plan backfired. Placing Khan in jail had only made him more popular, even in areas where he has historically had little support. In response to these results, the deep state sent armed thugs to polling stations to stop new voters from voting. Men brandishing weapons invaded the voting sites and threatened voters to leave. They even confiscated the ballots and prevented civilians from counting. By the next morning, the results had dramatically changed. Khan still won, but the gap had been drastically narrowed. The tactic was clear. The deep state knows they cannot prevent Khan from winning, so they are trying to ensure that they can at least control a portion of the parliament large enough to disrupt his ability to govern. One independent candidate, backed by the PTI, won an election against the PML party, After he won, however, he switched sides and decided to join the PML, the party he had just defeated. This has led many to speculate that the deep state bribed or threatened him to switch sides. This is where things currently stand at the time of the making of this video. Khan still sits in jail, the deep state continues to rig the system, and Pakistan remains trapped in a struggle for their democracy. It has important implications, not only for the people of Pakistan, but for the region as a whole. Pakistan is nestled in a strategically important region of the world, and don't forget, they're armed with over 170 nuclear weapons. For decades, the CIA has listed Pakistan as a nation on the cusp of collapse. This possibility has never been more real. Tensions are high, the situation is escalating, and a lot is at stake. The deep state doesn't want to relinquish control, but they also don't want a repeat of the 2023 riots that saw the people attacking the military. So what do you think will happen next? Let us know if we missed any important information in the comment section below. And don't forget to subscribe and support us on Buy Me a Coffee. Take care of yourselves.
Trust nothing.